So do you enjoy the content here on Thoughtful Faith? If so, be sure to hit the notification bell. This ensures that our new videos show up on your feed. Also, be sure to check out our Facebook group called Thoughtful Saints, where myself and others discuss the sorts of topics found on this channel. And lastly, if you think other people would benefit from this video, please be sure to share it. Hey guys, so before we get into today's video, I would like to tell you about who I believe to be the greatest scriptorian that's currently living in the church. He's actually an Irish convert named Robert Boylan. Robert is a faithful LDS scholar and convert to the church from Catholicism. Robert is an expert in biblical interpretation and explores a wide range of theological topics, ranging from the Trinity to Mariology, on his blog, scripturalmormonism.blogspot.com. If you ever had a question about a scripture, chances are Robert has written about it, and probably more than once. Also, be sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel, Scriptural Mormonism, to keep up to date with his latest content. Robert is truly one of our finest scholars, and an absolute fount of information on the scriptures and how they connect to our theology. Is it always wrong to lie? Reflection on this question will essentially always lead to a moral conundrum. Is there any such thing as absolute moral truths? In one sense, we all know it is wrong to lie, but we can think of circumstances where lying can be justified. There are countless examples of this sort of thing. So, is there anything that is absolutely right or wrong? In this video, I want to propose a model for understanding morality. While this model's roots are based on an often misunderstood notion of situational ethics, I prefer the term algorithmic morality. Now, some of you might be questioning, what is algorithmic morality? Well, think of it this way. An algorithm will give you an output based on inputs according to a given formula in order to achieve a desired outcome. Some of these can be very simple. If X, then Y, for instance. I contend that morality should be thought of as a complex algorithmic formula that leads us away from suffering and towards ultimate well-being. Specific commandments are really just expressions of deeper principles and values given to a particular person or group of people at a particular time. However, it is these deeper principles that make up the building blocks of the algorithm and ultimately are more fundamental than any particular commandment given in a particular time and place. Principles act like the hard code that we take into ourselves, and when this coding is properly installed, we process external inputs, like from a given situation, into the proper outputs. In other words, the morally correct response to that situation. Spiritual development is when we encode these principles into our psyche and soul.
As you seek spiritual knowledge, carefully search for principles. Separate them from the detail used to explain them. Principles are concentrated truth packaged for application to a variety of circumstances. A true principle makes decisions clear even under the most confusing and compelling circumstances. It is worth great effort to organize the truth we gather to simple statements of principle.
For a Christian, this is actually the moral model that Jesus taught as he rejected the law-based moral legalism of his day. Notice how Jesus' ultimate concern is with the principle behind the commandment. Ye have heard that it was said of them of old time, Thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of judgment. But I say unto you, that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, Thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. And the ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation, because that Jesus had healed on the Sabbath day, and said unto the people, There are 6 days in which men ought to work. In them, therefore, come and be healed, and not on the Sabbath day. The Lord then answered him, and said, Thou hypocrite, doth not each one of you on the Sabbath loose his ox or his ass from the stall, and lead him away to watering? And ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan hath bound, lo, these 18 years, be loosed from this bond on the Sabbath day? You have been given 2 commandments, to be kind and not lie. These are based on the principles of charity and honesty. So what do you do when your wife, who is dealing with serious issues of body insecurity, asks if she looks fat in the dress and you think that she does? Well, suddenly those two come into conflict, charity and honesty. How about if you've been told not to steal, but you also have been told that you should protect the life of your child who is starving? Do you steal the loaf of bread from the rich man to save your baby? This is where the algorithm helps. It takes all of these principles and arranges them into a value hierarchy. This allows your wife's self-esteem and your relationship to be worth more than brutal honesty at all times, and can actually justify a white lie. But is this a dangerous, slippery slope? Yeah, it is. But what's the alternative? It's obvious that all commandments cannot be universally applied in every situation. Life is too complex for a complete list of do's and don'ts. Instead, the game of morality is a game of understanding what values and norms will bring you toward the desired outcome. Most importantly, it's about how you order the principles. Not all values or principles are equal in all contexts. Knowing the principles, properly ordering them, and manifesting that order in your mode of being is the game of morality, and ultimately, in my view, the very reason you have moral agency in the first place. The second thing to get clear is that Christianity has not and does not profess to have a detailed political program for applying do as you would be done by to a particular society at a particular moment. It could not have. It is meant for all men at all times, and the particular program which is suited in one place or time would not suit another. And anyhow, that is not how Christianity works. When it tells you to feed the hungry, it does not give you lessons in cookery. The confusion about the differences between principles and commandments was the essence of Jesus' message to the Pharisees, who had confused and distorted what values were higher in the hierarchy, because they were obsessed with the universal application of commandments. They placed a higher value on the letter of the law over the spirit of the law. President Wilford Woodruff said, "For the salvation and exaltation of the children of men are principles you cannot annihilate. They are principles that no combination of men can destroy. They are principles that can never die. They are beyond the reach of man to handle or to destroy. Organization, programs, procedures, policies, and principles are all important, but they are not all of equal importance. If you do not know the principles, and by principles, I mean the principles of the gospel, the doctrines, what's in the revelation. If you do not know what the revelations say about justice or mercy, or what they reveal on reproof or forgiveness, how can you make inspired decisions in those difficult cases that require your judgment? There are principles of the gospel underlying every phase of church administration. These are not explained in the handbooks. They are found in the scriptures. They are the substance of and the purpose for the revelations. Procedures, programs, the administrative policies, even some patterns of organization are subject to change. We are quite free, indeed quite obliged, to alter them from time to time, but the principles never change. Our values can be expressed as moral principles or axioms such as it is good to be kind, or they can be expressed as commandments, like thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Ultimately, whether expressed as a commandment or as a moral truth, these are expressions of value. So does this mean that morality is relative or subjective because what we value varies from person to person? No, because we all ultimately value the same thing above all else. We desire to escape suffering. In fact, this is the very bedrock of all moral reasoning and language, as I have explained in my previous videos. We all want to get as far away from suffering as possible and approach some notion of ultimate well-being. The question becomes, how do we get there? The way we arrange the hierarchy of values is an expression of the roadmap we implicitly build for how we reach that end. Everyone, whether explicitly or implicitly, does this because it is requisite to act in the world. The only question is if one's hierarchy of values is properly calibrated towards ultimate well-being. And the nature of well-being and our desire to find it is the subject at the heart of our deepest existential longings and debates.